Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend a little bit of time talking about cards from Lord of the Rings, the card game. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Grant Thompson, just along for the ride.
And I'm Ted Bannock, and I love talking about cards.
You love that thing.
I love it.
Right? We got somebody.
Let's talk about cards. We're on Card Talk.
Yeah. So, just to give a little background, we had a fan reach out to us and ask us to look at some of the garden cards. Some of the garden cards. So
some of the garden cards,
like Old Toby, and
like,
I don't know. No, some of the guarded. Look at the guarded cards from the last cycle. Now that the Arid Mithrin cycle is over, and we've probably seen probably all the guarded cards we're going to see. We may see one or two sprinkled in again, but we'll see. So Christian Prisholm was the guy who suggested it. So Christian, thank you so much. And instead of talking necessarily about guarded cards, in this particular episode, what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the guarded fetch card. So, Grant, I see that you have muted yourself. So, Ted, do you? Oh, you're back. Okay, good.
Hey,
good.
All right.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about the King's Return, which isn't necessarily a guarded card, but I think if you have access to leadership, it fits right into this, the guarded theme here. So, Grant, what is the King's Return? And give us the lowdown.
It's a one-cost leadership event from the Fate of Wilderland, which says search your deck for a guarded attachment and put it into play, shuffle your deck.
And... yeah. What do you think of it?
Me personally, I haven't had a chance yet to play around with the King's Return. It's another sort of search your deck, put something into play, or search your deck, pull it to your hand. And yeah, I like the fact that you can get a guarded attachment straight into play for the cost of one. But it's also very mundane.
There's not much to it. Is that what you mean by it?
Yeah,
that's pretty straightforward.
Generic.
Yeah.
Got a sweet freaking title though, The King's Return.
Yeah, I would have.
Right, you just can announce it to the entire table, or if you're just by yourself playing solo, you can just bellow it gloriously.
I'd like to have probably seen this actually attach it to one of your characters rather than having it come out guarded, with it being the King's Return.
Oh yeah, you mean like just skip the whole guarded thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I think that would defeat the purpose of the guarded cards. I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think that gameplay wise, you can't really do that.
Yeah, gameplay wise, you can't. But that's just my personal opinion on it. It's just another fetch.
Yeah, it's just a fetch card, right? And not just a fetch card. If you're playing guarded cards, this is so in essence you're
the fetch card,
right? I mean, this is the way to increase instead. If you're playing 2 copies of Orcrist, and you have 3 copies of the King's Return, or you're playing 2 copies of Orcrist, 2 copies of the Arkenstone, now you have in essence 7 ways to get those cards out, right? So,
yes.
I don't know, Ted. What do you think of this card?
It definitely adds to the strength of guarded cards. So its biggest strength is over most of the guarded cards, or a big chunk of them are weapons and armor, or half of them maybe.
Right.
So as opposed to using open the armory to search your top 10 cards for a weapon, this card will find any guarded card anywhere in your deck, and there's not a lot of tutors. That's like a magic term, I guess.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of cards in the game that you search your deck. Word of Command comes to mind in lore. But so that's a pretty powerful effect. I think it does help with guarded cards in the essence of the fact that this card's an event is its biggest strength, because usually you play guarded cards during the planning phase before
Right.
you get to the quest. And this, you get to do it anytime you want.
Mm-hmm.
So you could actually play this during the combat phase. And if you use it to put Sting into play, which you'd be paying 1 for the 0 cost Sting, you would bring out an enemy that you didn't have to quest against for that round.
Right, or you don't have to engage because you've already skipped the encounter phase, right? So
Right.
you just can leave a low-cost enemy or whatever up there.
Yeah, so its biggest strength is being an action. It does force you to like play leadership, but then to get the benefit of the card, it makes sense.
Yeah, that was going to be what my grumble was, is that I agree with everything that you're saying, that, you know, but the fact that it's leadership really grumps me out, because, you know, there's 3 neutral guarded cards, and then there's 1 for each sphere. So now if you're going to play this, if you're going to play or want to play this, you have to have leadership. It just, I don't know.
But
it
that's
just
still
bums
a
me out.
majority.
I don't know. Like, it just,
You know, yeah, oh, I get that. But it's still a majority, right? If you're playing a dual sphere deck and you have 1 single leadership hero, you can still afford this the turn you draw it and get the guarded card, and then you can still have all the neutral. So you're really only excluding 2 cards out of the whole guarded pool. But yeah, if you want to run your tactics deck and you want to have Sting and the Necklace of Girion in it, you know, you can't put King's Return in. It's not neutral.
Right. You'll have to use those neutral open the armory attachments or whatever.
Right.
You know,
or something else to fetch it.
Right.
It is kind of neat though that you do pay the 1 cost for the card, and then you don't have to also pay for the guarded card because it goes straight into play. So you're not paying 1 for the King's Return and then 1 for the, you know, Glam Drink or whatever it is.
Right.
You're only overpaying if you fetch Sting, because I think Sting is 0.
Sting is 0, right? And everything else is 1. Is one of them 2? Is the Arkenstone 2?
Let's check.
I don't know. I thought maybe one of them was 2, but
yeah, I think they're all 1 except for Sting.
I think you're probably right.
It's, you know, if you're playing guarded cards and you want to go get them.
Yeah, all of the guarded attachments except for Sting are 1.
Okay, so it's good. You don't have to double pay. So, and then you get it right on the table. So if you want to get something out that has impact early game, we discussed the necklace having a high impact early game because of its resource acceleration. You can put that out. It helps you get it sooner.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I can just see this. If you're playing a bunch of guarded cards, I feel like this card has to. And what a bunch? There's probably got to be a like a balance of guarded cards. Like, you can't just play all 7 guarded cards and have 20 card slots taken up because of guarded cards. But you can definitely play 3 different guard cards and have 6 of your card, you know, play 2 copies of each, and you know, and then play this as a fetch card, and then you have 9 ways to get at your guarded cards, right? Like,
right. You could even run you could even run 1 of like all the neutral ones and then go get the one you want with this card.
Right.
And then run 3 copies of this.
And that's the power, I think, that you said that I wanted to make sure that this searches your deck. Like, it's like Heed the Dream, you know, like go get it and put it into play, you know, like that's, and Heed the Dream costs 4, you know, or 5 or whatever, or 4, right? It's 1 lore and then 3, or like the, you know, the, what's the side quest that allows you to take and put any card in your, you know, like this is 1 cost, allows you to search your deck, tutor for anything, for any of those guarded cards, and it allows you to control which one you need now, you know, depending on the scenario you're playing, depending on when you're playing what scenario. So, and that's, I think, can't be overstated. For 1 cost to search your whole deck is pretty good. Yeah.
And the fact that it's an event can be very advantageous, because you could, if you get a location, not as helpful, but you know, you can even play this I think there's a window to play it like at the end of the. I think you could play it. I'm trying to think of the travel phase. If you could play it,
There is an action window
button.
in the travel phase. Yes.
Yeah, I wonder if it's before or after you actually
I think
travel.
It's,
I think it's after you pick.
It's after you travel, right?
Yeah. It gives it tremendous flexibility, which is good.
Sure, and that's what you want with those guarded cards, along with Reforged, right? If you have to discard a guarded card, Reforged allows, because that's an event, allows you to put it in play, whenever you want as well. So, yeah, I mean it's good. I don't know if there's a ton to say. Grant, is there a ton to say about this card other than what we've talked about? Like, there's no secret combos because it's an event or anything, right?
So there's no secret combos that I can think of.
I mean, you could play the Galadra Minstrel with this card, right? That allows you to search the top 5 cards in your deck for an event.
That's really funny.
And it would trigger Is it Love of Tales that gives
Love of Tales?
It's a song, right?
Right, it is a song, yeah.
So yeah,
trigger off Love of Tales.
You could also play. You can get this card with the Minstrel.
Rivendell Minstrel.
You could search your deck for this card with the Minstrel, and then use that card to search your deck for the guarded card.
Oh, jeez.
That's not too bad, though. It gets you the card out of another way to get to the guarded card.
Right.
I would like to say the artwork on this card is fantastic.
What is the hill? Is that the hill? Is that the Lonely Mountain? I mean, it's got to be, right?
The hill.
that hill.
Say that to throw an open shield. Right.
Hill? Yeah. Right. No, that's definitely got to be the Lonely Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Very cool artwork. Agreed. Yeah,
definitely cool. Actually, a lot of the guarded cards have really cool artwork. I'm not a fan of Glamdring's artwork too much. It makes the Balrog look like the same size as Gandalf, so that's. But oh well, we already talked about Glamdring, I think so.
Yeah, Love of Tales. Actually, yeah, you play Love of Tales if you're running lore, and then you play the Minstrel, and then this. You got a lot of options there, and then actually getting your guarded card for free because you get the resource back. This card. A lot of options to actually play around with it. Those are good mentions, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready to ring it?
Yeah, let's ring this guy. So, for anybody that's new or doesn't know how we do this, we have a highly scientific yet arbitrary system where we rate these cards on a scale from 1 to 10, where where if Ted is dyslexic, that's the rings Catern. Right? And so Ted has been looking for rings in all of the cards lately. So I don't see many rings in this thing, but a song rings out, and if it's
inside
an echo,
the Lonely Mountain,
right,
is a hoard of treasure, and how many rings are in the treasure hoard?
Well, you're missing one key ring that's sitting on. Well, 2 key rings that are sitting on the actual face of the card.
Go ahead.
The leadership icon is inside a ring, and the King's Return has a ring at the bottom of it.
Oh, boy. Okay.
There you go.
There you go. So 2 rings, I guess, right?
2 rings, I guess.
But we have a highly arbitrary yet scientific system that Ted has nothing to do with developing, and where 1 is the one card to rule them all, and 10 is a card that we throw back into the fiery chasm from whence it was made. So I'll go first on this card. This card is one of those that I feel like when we did Sylvan February, Grant, and we talked about cards that are useful in a certain type of deck but not useful in others. Like, this is one of those cards, I think, that if you're running leadership and you're running more than 4 guarded cards in your deck, or maybe less than 4 guarded cards in your deck, or you want a specific guarded card to pop off, I think that you run this card. I think that this card is a great card to go get it, puts it into play, all that stuff that we did. But I think if you're not running any guarded cards, or you're running, if the guarded card isn't that vital to what you're doing, I don't think you have to run this card. And actually, I've been running all my guarded card decks without this card in it, because I'm not been running leadership in them. For what it is inside the guarded deck, I would have to give it, the 3 rings, because it's such a good looking for the guarded card. But outside, it's completely useless. Outside any deck with a guarded card, it would have to be a 10.
Yeah.
So, so I think I have to average those two out and give it like a 6, just because of those two things. Ted, what do you think?
I want to give this one a 4, because it's because it's an event. It is certainly restricted to the leadership sphere, but I can see running 2 of one guarded card, 2 of another, and then like 2 of this card, right? And then you have a lot of flexibility to help you get that card. And it being an event makes it much easier to get to your guarded card. Like, you find it and you can deal with the card it brings, I think, easier, because you can play it outside of the planning phase, which, it's easier to manipulate it and do stuff with.
Right.
But it certainly has the drawback of, if it was neutral card, it'd be much better. It'd be way better.
Way better.
But it had the restrictions somewhere, but overall it's good.
Yeah. Grant, what do you say?
I'm also going to give it a 4 rings. Outside of the guarded deck or running guarded cards where you want to pull them out, it does need to go back to the fiery chasm.
Back to the Lonely Mountain from whence it came.
Yeah.
And thanks, Phil, for that tagline. That was really good. Sorry.
But in all fairness, inside a guarded structure, I'm giving it a 4 because it can do what it needs to do, and you're not restricted by sphere with it, other than having the leadership. But if you're running, say, 2 law in the leadership hero, and you want to pull out your Mithro shirt, you can, because it's not restricted for what guarded attachment you can pull.
Yeah, it doesn't say go dig for a leadership guarded attachment or something.
True.
So
that's another really great point.
So you don't have to worry about having a resource match to play that attachment. So I'm giving it overall 4.
Okay. So there you have it. We just talked about the King's Return, a leadership event that goes and fetches guarded cards. So join us again as we talk about more cards from the game. Have a great day, everybody. And if you're interested in finding this or any of our back episodes of Card Talk, feel free to search YouTube, where you can find our flagship video episodes with the username Card Talk 2018. Or you can search the RSS feed, cardtalk2018.libsyn.org, for our extended audio versions of our podcast. Or you can find us on Facebook at Card Talk 2018. And if you have any questions for Grant or myself, or for both of us, feel free to email us at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.